I got a strange going on out here. Something just killed my dog.
Something killed your dog?
Hey everybody, welcome to the Cryptid Podcast. I'm your host Daniel. Today is Friday, January 3rd, 2025. Can you believe that? 2025 is already here. I just want to say first and foremost, thank you so much for all your support. Thanks for checking out the channel, taking the time out of your busy day to view one, two, or all of my content. Again, all the likes, all the comments, the subscriptions are fantastic. Thank you so much. I'm growing pretty quick here. Yeah, so tonight, you guys, I got a pretty cool one. I have a buddy of mine named Charlie, and Charlie doesn't live that far from me. And a while back, as he was coming home, he believes he encountered the Wendigo. Now, for those of you who don't know who the Wendigo is, it's an Ojibwe folklore, so to speak, but it's pretty well known here in Minnesota. So without further ado, we'll bring my buddy on, Charlie. Everybody say welcome to Charlie. Hey, buddy. How's it going, man?
Not too bad. Thank you again. Yeah, no, quite the intro. I like that. Thank you.
I appreciate that, man. So, hey, again, remind me, what year did this take place?
So I graduated high school in 2010, and so I was probably had my white Chevy S10. I remember that. So I was a sophomore. So I was sophomore, dropping off my girlfriend for the night, and it was close to Halloween. I remember it was a cold fall night. So what's that? 2008-ish, 7, right around there.
About 2008.
Yeah. So jumping right in, it was an evening time. You know, fall gets dark quick. I remember it was cold. It was a night where I dropped my girlfriend off at the time in Centerville, and I was driving home, actually going southbound on Centerville Road, going to take a right on Birch to go to my parents' house at the time. And I remember I was going relatively slow coming up to the stop. There's a 4-way stop right there. There's a fire station right there now. And in the distance, there was another car coming towards me. And then, I saw a silhouette of what I thought was a deer. It's very common to see deer around here. There's hundreds of them. I've hit them with my car. I've friends that hunt the area. Seeing deer is like seeing squirrels in this, part of the neck of the woods or whatever you want to say. But as I got closer, and keep in mind, this is a very small amount of time. This is maybe under the 30-second mark of when, from when I saw it to when it was gone. And it wasn't going very fast. It's just the shorter time that light was actually shining down the road is the time I saw it before I even realized what I was looking at. Because as I was getting closer, it stopped looking less like a deer and more like something else. And it bugged me for a very long time because, when you're younger, you see stuff and, you try to put stuff together. But for the longest time, I thought it was just a really weird deer. To me, I was like, it looked funky. And I just played it off as so. And, the next morning telling my folks and telling my girlfriend and friends at school, I was like, oh, yeah, man, you wouldn't believe this deer that's walking around Lino. Oh, man. And then you get to describing it. People are kind of like, yeah, you sure that's a deer? And it's like, whatever the hell it could be. And it stuck with me for a long time. I kept it in the back of my head, and it never scared me. I never was like, I don't want to run across even, a mean dog on a bike trail around here. But at the same time, it always like, it would be in the back of my head if I were to go on the bike trails around here. Growing up in this area, I rode dirt bikes and stuff in those cornfields that are now developed. And I was like, man, I'd like to see that again. That would be really cool to me to see it again with a more mature mind, more focus. And, obviously throughout the years, I've seen deer. So it wasn't until the movie The Ritual came out, about the guys that get lost in the woods, and now the movie The Ritual, it is not about the Wendigo, but I remember watching that movie, and I was like, that kind of looked like what I saw. It wasn't as big, God no, but I'm like, it re-sparked, excuse me, the imagination to start looking into it again. After investigating and doing a little research with just some online, watching some YouTube videos, looking into the lore and whatnot, I came across what people describe as the Wendigo. And I'm like, that is what I saw, man. That's that, so what I saw, if we go back into the story, as I'm coming to this stop, there's a car coming the other way. So I see this perfect silhouette of this animal, creature, whatever you want to call it. And I remember it being lengthy. It wasn't walking on its hind legs, but it very well looked as if it could. It like I said, imagine a very strung out deer. It was very long, lengthy, and instead of trotting, it more so slowly passed across the, like, not if it was hurt, but just imagine it was in no rush to go anywhere. And as I got closer, again, thinking as a young kid, I'm like, God, this is just a deer that probably got hit by a car. I got closer and I noticed that the snout of this thing was really long compared to what I would think a normal deer was. And that was a characteristic that stuck out to me very much compared to anything else, because as I got closer, the snout, you could see that its mouth was open, and sorry, my camera's backwards than what it normally is, and you could see its breath. Like I said, it was a fall day, it was cold, and it was panting, and I just remember the teeth. It wasn't like deer. Yeah, they have teeth, but this, I remember, they were very jagged, they were pointy, they were not perfect or in any way, and I thought that was weird. That's when I started to focus on, like, this is something different. And again, being with that other car coming towards me, it made it very difficult to distinguish color, but shape. I'm not an artist, but I could draw it right now and be like, this is it. Because, like I said, the head was anything like I've ever seen before. And I remember the snout was really long, the teeth, and I could see the breath. And, learning more about the Wendigo, I start to think to myself that it didn't have the big rack of horns. And the research that I do is that's a determining factor. It's, got the antlers. And this one, I don't recall a rack on it. I do remember it had points coming out of the skull. I don't know if it is like a white tail where it loses its antlers or whatever. Or I just remember there was only two little points. At first, I thought they were ears, but then I remember how they were curved. It was not so much something that was straight up, but more so, more of like a kind of like a, how do you want to say it? What's something that looks like that? An exaggeration of more of a devilish style horn, more of cartoony. Like I said, it was more of a point versus, a straight up or pointed forward. Again, like I said, an animal that I've never seen before. And then as soon as I came to a full stop, like I said, short window of time, this animal, the creature, it already disappeared into the forest. Like I said, but it's a long, lengthy walk. It's really skinny body in the head. It was definitely the silhouette of what I would believe would be the Wendigo, other than it was missing its big rack of horns. But other than that, if it would have stood up, I think I would have turned my truck around and whipped the other way. But yeah, from then on out, I've lived in the area. I duck hunt the lakes around here. I've deer hunted some parts of Lino Lakes. I've ice fished all the lakes. I spend a lot of time outside. Never saw it again, man. Never again.
Bro, okay. I just looked it up, and it says, no, Wendigos do not always have antlers.
Well, that would, when I think about a lot of these stories, creatures, I don't think that they're aliens or anything. I think that they're a spawn of some sort of creation. And I can imagine, I don't know if there's a male or a female, how much you want to bleed into it. But, you think about some other sort of animals that have similar traits, that losing horns is not uncommon, or antlers or whatever you want to call them.
Right. Right. So about how long did you have a visual on this creature?
I would give it, I would say just right under 30 seconds. Like I said, the thing that I wish, obviously if I had a time machine, I'd do a lot more than just go back. But I remember coming to the stop. Oh, there's a deer in the road. That's not a deer, gone. So if you can imagine that amount of time, like I said, the other car coming the other way is what gave me the silhouette. So that's the image. That's the memory that I have. So to say more than 30 seconds, like I said, by the time I came to a complete stop, this thing was already walking into the woods on the opposite side, where I believe there's a family that has a little farm.
Mm-hmm.
And when I go through that intersection, I can see the little hill that it walked up. And, I wouldn't be the one to go recreate it, but I could show you. And to me, it's such a memory that I recall. Is the story. I talked to my dad about doing this, and I was like, you remember that time I saw that weird deer? And he's like, oh, he remembers the story just as I do, because I don't want to say it spooked me, but I was like, maybe that's a big damn deer. So, size wise, at least the lane of traffic, again, it was hunched over, it wasn't standing. So like I said, from snout to the rear end, about a lane of traffic, maybe a little bit more.
So a lane, I think an average lane of traffic, I want to say 6, maybe 8 feet long,
give or take. Yeah. I know that road's been redone, but close.
Do you think the other driver saw it?
That bothers me. I think about that is he was farther down, and that where he was coming. If you drive that stretch of road, you kind of do like an S curve around a lake, and then you get this little straightaway where the farm used to be. I don't think he would have saw it. If he did, he was probably thinking the same thing. I was closer than he was, but like I said, back then with, the lights were dim, they didn't have HID, they didn't have LED, we had standard, headlights. So they were kind of that tinted brown, not brown, but you know what I mean? The older school headlights compared to what they have now.
Yeah.
Like I said, it was hard to judge color, but shape for sure. Like I said, when I watched that movie, that was the same lengthy thing I saw, except small. But then after researching a little bit, especially this area, heavy native population back in the day, before the settlers came, the Rice Creek chain got its name because of all the tribes that were up here harvesting rice. And there was a lot of farmland, and a lot of this was prairie mixed with the woods and stuff that are around. So for that lower fits here.
Yeah. About how far away from. Okay, so and I'm thinking, so you're coming from Centerville, like you're driving down Centerville Road, like you're driving towards
Birch.
Yeah, towards Birch. Like and if you cross over Birch, that fire department is on your left-hand side. And it was traveling.
Now it would be on the left-hand side.
Yeah, so it was traveling from left to right.
Yep, the way I saw it.
Yep, okay. And about how close were you to it?
By the time I completely stopped, I would say 30, 40 yards. Like before I realized that wasn't a deer.
Okay, and about how far away from that that intersection were you?
I would still say about the 40-yard mark.
Right.
It was, if I were to judge, like I do duck hunting, 50 yards is a long way for me. But at the same time, like I said, right at that, if you could imagine, I came to that stopped, and that's when its legs were into the brush and gone.
Okay.
But then what I did is I did drive through the stop sign, turned around, and tried to look into those woods. It spooked, and that spooked me, but it gave me a jump. and I didn't see anything when I turned around. But that other gentleman going the other way, he just kept going. So I couldn't imagine he saw anything.
And when you say you saw its breath, was it just like a normal thing breathing, or was it like you can see just strong exhale?
It was a very strong exhale. I remember that was part of me look twice was, I've seen my own breath. I've seen, dogs. And, to me, this thing was taking deep breaths. This was not something that just got done running. This was not something that I feel was shorter breath, but like, I remember it was the exhale, exhale, exhale. And it was a good amount where it had a little cloud around it. I know it was cold out, but
Right.
like I said, this thing, like I said, that's by all the its breath that I saw was helped to distinguish the silhouette of its head is what I think helped me determine the shape versus, I just saw a deer breathing. No, like I said, it was very distinguished compared to, just a little puff of air that I would imagine a small deer would do or something. But this, like I said, that was part of it, man. It was very interesting.
And you said you got a good enough look to notice that in its mouth, the teeth were jagged.
Mm-hmm.
So when you say jagged, were they like all in a neat row, or were they just kind of crooked and jagged, or?
Very similar to alligator crocodile style, where they're not all 100% straight. They're definitely carnivore. And like I said, I remember with its mouth being open, like I said, I can only describe it by like my hands. Like they weren't like tiny little toothpicks. They looked like they could have easily grabbed something. They're carnivorous style, not so much. And it wasn't like a bear where it had two canines and a couple other. No, they were not in uniform. They were all together, but like some were long, some were a little bit shorter, some were crooked. It looked like I said, alligator crocodile would probably be how I would describe, because when you look at their teeth line, they're not all 100%. They're big and noticeable, but like I said, this thing's mouth was open and you could see it breathing with all those little teeth. It was a sight. It was crazy. And again, never ever saw it again. Never saw anything like it other than in the movies and in the internet stuff that I look at.
Did you notice any eye shine by chance?
No
No.
eye shine. I know that was something we talked about before. I didn't see it. I've caught walleye. I've seen deer in the headlights. Where I'm at with that is I don't want to sit there and say that I saw a hollow hole. I don't want to, follow too deep into that. But there was no eye shine. It was just a silhouette of what I could, because the biggest thing that made me think skull is the nose was broken up. It wasn't a clear snout. It wasn't like, it kind of, I've seen skulls on plenty of animals, that cartilage goes away.
Yeah.
And I remember seeing that too, very pointed, very jagged, kind of like a deer skull or something like that. But I remember that was, again, it was a quick viewing. And I remember, like I said, that after looking at pictures of whatever a Wendigo looks like, that is a copy image of what I saw.
Dude, that's like 10 minutes from my house.
Yeah, pretty close to my new house too. So
that is legit like 10 minutes from my house. Bro,
this is not something that gets brought up at the bar very often. It's not like you go to Kelly's Corner and be like, "Hey, you guys, you see that Wendigo?"
We should do that one night. You and I should go meet up and then go in there and just start talking to some locals.
Wouldn't be a bad idea. I have a lot of friends that hunt this area.
Yeah.
As a just conversation, I was talking to one of my friends of like, "Hey, he's trapped this area. He's born and raised here like I am. He's never seen anything crazy. I know that it takes a minute for people to, it's not an everyday conversation. It's not something that, you bring up at Thanksgiving. But like, at the same time is my friend claims that there's otters in these creeks, and I've never seen an otter in my life. In this location, I've seen otter, water, regular freshwater otters and stuff, but he claims these things are running around the Rice Creek like squirrels, and I've never seen them. People have seen them.
They are.
Yeah, but like I said, to me, to be like, hey, I saw this really weird looking deer. It's again, to me, I if I wasn't so taken by the image that I saw, I would have probably never. I would have just wrote it off as a deer.
Wow. Oh, Charlie, that's crazy, bro. I don't know. I don't know what to do with that, because I mean, again, it's literally 10 minutes from my house. I've driven that at night and during the day. Now every time I go through there, that I'm going to have to be very, very, very aware of what's going on around there, because I would love. I don't know if I'd love to see one, but I think the chance at seeing one is kind of intriguing to me. So,
and after doing research, I wouldn't say I'm an expert. I would not be somebody that you would ask questions to, just other than the research that I've done, is that usually the people would say it's a possession of some sort. That's the original OG version, is that it was goes back to the Native American days, of where it would be like a possessed man because he did something bad, or
played with black magic.
Yeah, well, that's the folklore, and I love to think that there's something out there that just doesn't need an explanation. It is what it is. I like to think that. I'd like to prove it. That'd be great, I think, for a lot of things. But at the same time, I think it fits. You do the research in the history of Minnesota in general with their native tribe and stuff like that. It was a big deal for a long time up here, and natives are responsible for a lot of these sightings of all kinds of different, creatures, or whatever you want to call them. And to me, I don't want to read too much into it. Me is who I am, but someone somewhere somehow saw the same thing I did, and I can't be the only one.
Right. For sure. Well, hey, man, let's just real quick change subject real quick. Let's talk about you. Let's talk about what you do. And for anybody out there who enjoys stand-up comedy, Charlie is a stand-up comedian. Unfortunately, I haven't been able to get a chance to go out and see one of his shows, but I've seen some videos. Let's go ahead and plug you, brother.
Sure. Yeah. Been a stand-up comedian 10 years. Sometimes you need an imagination to make fun of this world that we're in. But I love it, man. It's done a lot of cool things for me. There's no school or book that you could read to do the things that I've done. I've opened for Larry Reeb, who was on the Rodney Dangerfield show. I've opened for, Kevin Farley, Chris Farley's brother. I've worked with him, hung out with Nick Swartzen a couple times, not to brag, but like it was a self-made choice a long time ago, where I was like, I wasn't the high school, or what's that, school clown? What do they call it?
Yeah, school clown.
Class clown? Yeah, no, hell no. But I enjoyed making people laugh. I enjoyed writing material, perfecting material, and now, am I some great Minnesota comedian? Nah, there's way better guys and gals out there than I am. But it's cool. There's people that reach out to me now that are just getting started, and like, what do I do? How do I start? And I'm like, if I could go back in time and tell myself what I would do, I don't think I'd be where I'm in today, because Minneapolis, the Twin Cities, Minnesota in general, even Duluth, killer comedy scenes. They've blown up over the years. Like right now, Duluth, when I started, there was maybe 1 or 2 rooms. Now they have their own like mini comedy festival up there. All those Duluth comedians are awesome. I've worked for Peak Entertainment. Mike Fink, love that guy. I do one of my best friends, Dan Hanningkamp, with Off the Rails Entertainment. I do a lot of work with him, help him out, and now even to the point where I run shows where my company's Just Laugh. I help book shows for bars, venues, corporate events. I work with a lot of legions, VFWs, Yeah, and basically, we're a full-on production company. I right now in my office, it's microphones, PA systems, lighting. I know more DJs than I probably should. But yeah, we try to bring the comedy club experience to people that normally wouldn't be able to see it or do it. Like sometimes we do shows in the middle of nowhere, and somebody will message me a week before. I'm like, hey, my name is Joe and Smo, whatever. I want to do comedy. I've never tried, and you're coming to town. I'll give you 3 minutes for free. You're gonna learn how much it sucks.
Yeah.
But
Well, I remember the one time we hung out when we were doing that class that I used to teach, and I said a couple of things, and you stopped, and you're like, "Dude, you gotta get up behind the mic one time."
oh yeah,
I don't know if I got the courage to do that, man. So
it's right now being the beginning of the year, just like going to the gym. There's a lot of people that are trying to become comedians right now.
yeah,
I do my best to get out as much as I can. It's hard, with the day job and where I live and the lifestyle I have. I'm more of the weekend warrior kind of guy.
yeah,
But yeah, as of right now, there's a lot of people getting up on stage. I am one of my good coworkers. His buddy just started. He's open mic number 3 or 4.
hmm,
Last time I talked to him, and I was like, I'm not a mentor. I'm not the guy to ask questions to. I know people you can ask questions to.
yeah,
But there's so much that even I had to learn, not twirling the microphone cord up in your hand. You watch new comics, that's one of the things. You don't know what to do with your hands when you
right,
get on stage. You don't have material. You're nervous. The best advice for a new comedian, write it down. Just notes. I wish I had a notebook in front of me, but yeah, still the old school. I think something's funny, write it on my hand. I throw it in my notebook, and then I forget about it for 2 years. And then I find out I'm not funny, and then I go back to my funnier self and rewrite those jokes.
nice. Hey, so if somebody wanted to reach out to you and get a hold of you and try to set something up, how would they do that?
Um, the Just Laugh page. If you just go to Facebook and you type in Just Laugh NN, there's some variations, but mine, it's just the JL logo. It's pretty cut and dry. I wish I had one in front of me. Or as you can see right here, my name. Facebook is usually the way most people will reach out to me. And then once we swap contacts, that's when I set up a personal meeting. During COVID, things were I did not like Zoom. So I set up a one-to-one where I come to your space and we talk about what show will work best for you. Or you follow either one of those pages. I post when I'm performing. Most of the time, I'm not inner city. I'm an outer rim comic. I say any Duluth, someplace that when you type it into the GPS, it goes, why?
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, middle of Wisconsin that has no cell phone service, and there's 3 bars, no Walmart, and 1 church. Priority.
There you go.
But
So
that's me.
everybody on Facebook, it's Just Laugh MN. That's Just Laugh Mike November. It's not Mike November. That's phonetically spelling out MN. So it's like Just Laugh Minnesota. Just Laugh MN. And then as you see Charlie in it, how do you say your last name again?
Stemig.
Stemig. There you go. Charlie Stemig.
Yep.
Check him out on Facebook, and yeah, reach out to him if you guys are interested in getting something started with stand-up comedy, and he'll point you in the right direction and get things set up for you guys. So, Charlie, do you have anything else you'd like to tell my audience?
No, I'm always one of those guys. Keep the ears to the ground, keep listening, keep looking, and it's people like us that keep this kind of thing going. And don't be shy. I think that was one of the biggest takeaways.
Cool. All right. So, everybody, I just want to say thank you so much for being on the show, coming in and checking out the show. Charlie, again, thank you so much for coming on the show. And again, if anybody out there's had an encounter of any kind, Wendigo, Sasquatch, Dogman, Jersey Devil, Mothman, whatever, and you just really can't figure out what to do with that story, or you have a story you just like to confide, get it off your chest so you can go on, please feel free to shoot me an email at the Cryptid cryptidpodcast72@gmail.com. Again, it's a cryptidpodcast72@gmail.com. And again, as I always say, remember, a legend always starts with a sighting. And as my buddy Josh always says, stay prayed up. Everyone, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Have a great weekend.
I got a strange going on out here. Something just killed my dog.
Something killed your dog?